this month is portion control or portion distortion. So March is recognized annually as National Nutrition Month. So I thought a presentation along the lines of something nutrition related would be appropriate. And, you know, I get a lot of specific requests for different nutrition topics, but I really wanted to start out with the portion topic. I think this is really important no matter what kind of diet you're following, no matter whether you're trying to maintain your weight, lose weight, just eat a balanced diet. The portions of food that you're eating are really important for whatever you are trying to accomplish with your diet. So to reach or stay at a healthy weight, how much you eat is just as important, like I was talking about. So some questions to ask yourself. Do you know how much food is enough for you? Do you understand the difference between a portion and a serving size? So these are some of the things I'm going to cover in today's presentation. We'll look at how portion sizes have changed over the years, what the actual nutrition guidelines are for how much we should be eating, and then we'll go through some ways that you can help to manage your portion sizes, both when you're eating at home and when you're eating away from home, whether that's at restaurants or whatever that situation might be. So restaurants nowadays typically offer enormous plates of food. Drinks come in big gulp sizes, and snacks and sweets and things are sold in king-size packages. Even car cup holders have been adapted recently to accommodate for the bigger drinks and things like that. So it can be hard to know how much to eat sometimes with all these big packages and portions being served to us. Even when you're eating at home, it can be bigger, or it can be hard to maintain your portion sizes as well, as the size of dinner plates, muffin tins, pizza pans, all that stuff have grown over the years. And as everything gets bigger and bigger, that bigger starts to seem like the norm. So it's distorting how we think about a serving size or the correct amount. One study found that modern portion sizes of popular foods added an extra 50 to 150 calories. While that might not sound like too much, an extra 100 calories a day can pack on an extra 10 pounds of weight in a year. So that can make a pretty big impact. You know, obviously it all depends on how you're balancing out your physical activity as well. So I'm just going to go through a few different examples of how portions have changed over the last 20 years. And a lot of this is obviously estimates as far as what you'll be seeing on calories and how to burn those calories off. But so 20 years ago today, or 20 years ago, you saw a bagel that was about 3 inches. Now today a bagel is twice that size. So a 3-inch bagel 20 years ago would give you 140 calories, whereas now on average they're about 350 calories. So that's a difference of 210 calories in just one bagel. So one way to kind of look at this is saying, with all that snow that we've had, how long would you have to shovel snow to burn an extra 210 calories? Well, that's 30 minutes of shoveling, roughly. And these are based on a 150-pound person. So, you know, these are definitely estimates. But just to put in perspective, you know, just to burn off the extra calories from that one bagel, that's how long you would have to shovel for. Another example are serving sizes of fries, which have almost tripled in size, and going from 210 calories to 610 calories, and that's a difference of an extra 400 calories there. How long would you have to walk leisurely? So not anything too, you know, fast-paced, but you would have to walk for about 2 hours to burn off those extra 400 calories from that bigger size fry. Same with our pasta portions. Those have also increased dramatically, especially if you're going to a restaurant. I mean, the size of plates that you get at restaurants is incredible. So 20 years ago, you might have gotten a cup of spaghetti with, you know, some sauce and a couple small meatballs on there for 500 calories. Now you're going to get double that portion, larger meatballs, and you're looking at doubling those calories too at over 1,000 calories. So that's a difference of 525 calories. And if you're following a 2,000 calorie diet, that's half your calories in just one meal. So that puts a pretty big limitation on what you can eat for the rest of that day. So then if you're going to run on a treadmill at 6.5 miles per hour or 10-minute mile, you would have to run for 45 minutes to burn off those extra calories. Again, pizza, that's a big factor, right? So not only are the slices getting bigger, but the pizzas themselves are getting bigger. So we're looking at a 350 calorie difference, you know, in these 2 slice portion sizes here. And if you were biking at a moderate pace, you would have to do that for about 40 minutes to burn off those extra 350 calories. Obviously, drink sizes have changed a lot too, you know, from cans or smaller bottles to our bigger 20-ounce bottles here. You're looking at adding in an extra 165 calories per drink there. And if you're a gardener doing some, you know, more vigorous gardening, you would have to do that for about 40 minutes to burn off those extra calories from that one soda. And if you're a coffee drinker, you know, in the past it was mostly coffee. You know, maybe you added some whole milk, some sugar to it. Now we've got all these really sweet mocha drinks, you know, macchiatos, whatever it might be, where they're adding in whole milk, they're adding in flavored syrups, you know, a lot of different stuff where you're going to pack on a lot more calories than just either, you know, a black cup of coffee or a cup of coffee with a little bit of milk and sugar in it. So that's another 305 calories just from that morning cup of coffee. If you are doing strength training to burn that extra 350 calories, or 305 calories, sorry, that's 90 minutes of strength training. So those are just some examples. You know, there's a whole lot of different examples out there that you can look at, but just how those portion sizes have changed over the years. Everything's being served to us, generally anyway, in those much larger portion sizes. And it's been shown that what size is put in front of us, we typically tend to eat that much. So, so just being aware of that and how that kind of translates into the extra activity you might have to do to burn off those extra calories. So next I want to address, because these topics or these terms are typically used interchangeably, so portion size, serving size, those are 2 different things, as well as they differ from the recommended amounts of food you should be eating. So a portion size is how much food you choose to eat at one time, whether in a restaurant, at home, from a package. It's whatever you actually consume in that one sitting. A serving or serving size is the amount of food listed on a product's nutrition facts or the food label. So, you know, you're going to see serving size up there, and then all of the nutrition facts that follow below that pertain to that amount of food. So it's simply a guide to help you see how many calories and other nutrients are in that quantity of food. So different products have different serving sizes. It can be measured in cups, ounces, grams, pieces, slices, numbers, you know, 3 crackers, whatever it might be measured in. Sorry, there's that valve. And this might be more or less than your portion size or the amount that you actually eat. And it could be more or less than the amount that's recommended that you eat as well. So in some cases, it's perfectly okay, even a good idea, to eat and serve more than the serving size listed. For example, if you're cooking fresh or frozen vegetables, on that frozen vegetable package, it says the serving size is 1 cup. Well, it's no problem to eat more because vegetables are generally low in calories and fat and high in nutrition. Obviously, you don't want some of those frozen vegetables that have all the sauces on them, cheesy sauces, creamy sauces, things like that. That's a little different story. But so then we talk about the recommended amount of food you should be eating. So this is based on your age, your sex, your height, weight, and then how much physical activity you're doing. So again, a serving size and a portion size each may be different than that actual recommended amount of food for you. And that recommended amount of food for you may be different than the person that you're sitting next to. So it's important to know what is recommended for you and then to understand those differences in portion size, serving size. So when we talk about those recommendations, the guidelines now follow this My Plate method, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. So basically it's saying, half your plate should be vegetables and or fruits, and then another portion grains, and the rest of it protein. Typically we don't follow that rule. Our protein and our grains take up more than half our plate, and then we add in that side of vegetables. So just kind of reshaping, rethinking how that plate looks. And if you are looking to find a more personalized guide on what you should be eating as far as serving sizes and things like that, you can use the My Plate website for that. Here is an example of if you were recommended to eat a 2,000 calorie a day diet. You're looking at 2 cups of fruits, 2.5 cups of vegetables, 6 ounces of grains, 5.5 ounces of protein, and 3 cups of dairy. And then I'll give you, recommendations on how to get those in as well. So here are a couple websites that you can reference. I do have the PowerPoint attached to this presentation, so you can download it there, or you can find it on the Google Drive as well. And I'll send a link out to that when I send the recording out. But you can click on either of these links, and it'll help you kind of make a plan for what your daily calorie allowance looks like, for what your goal is as far as, are you maintaining weight? Are you looking to lose weight? How much time are you looking to lose that weight in? So it can really give you a better way of estimating how much you should be eating each day. And then we kind of look at, so, we talk about those recommendations of being, 2 cups of fruit, 2.5 cups of vegetables. It's also important to understand what equates to those amounts. So you can kind of look at this little diagram here to see, obviously a cup of fruit, just fresh fruit, is going to equal a cup of fruit. Same with 100% fruit juice. But if you're eating, dried fruit, something that's a little more concentrated, and it's going to be just half a cup of that. Same with vegetables. A cup of vegetables is generally a cup, except if you're looking at raw leafy greens, if you're eating, spinach, things like that, then 2 cups is going to be closer to that serving size. So you can kind of look through here and see how those different cup or ounce equivalents look in each of the food categories. Another great way to estimate what you're eating is by using some different reference points. So it can be good, if you have the time, the patience when you're starting out to actually take out those measuring cups, if you have a food scale, really measure everything out and get a good idea of what that serving size looks like. But the reality is a lot of people don't want to take the time to do that, or it's just not quite as convenient to do it, especially if you're eating away from home. So another way to get a good idea on what a serving size looks like, or a portion size, is to base it off of either everyday objects, such as that are shown here. Some of them not quite as common anymore, so as long as you're in the age range where you are familiar with the size of a cassette tape or a CD, for that matter, these can be really good references as far as what that looks like in an everyday object. Picture your golf ball when you're trying to measure out your peanut butter for something. And this kind of breaks it down and shows you examples of, specific foods and what that looks like. A pancake the size of a CD. Cheese is stacking 3 or 4 dice. Okay, so these can be good references. Most people are familiar with these objects, so give you kind of a little point of view on that. Even easier way is to use your hands to, use for reference for portion sizes. So the palm of your hand can be great for determining the size of your protein. So if you're looking at fish, chicken, red meat, looking at it being no bigger than the palm of your hand. If you, again, are looking at measuring out something in tablespoons or ounces, your thumb is a good reference for that, using your thumb to decide your portion of, again, we'll just use peanut butter as an example. Your fist can be great for determining how many or how much fruit or vegetables to eat, as it's about equal to 1 cup. Palm of your hand can be a good reference as well when you're for half a cup, if you just need half of that. And that's when you're looking at like pasta, rice, potatoes. You can use your thumbnail for a teaspoon if you're looking at, you know, some of your fats like olive oil and butter. And then when you're talking about different snacks like chips, you can kind of follow this 2 cupped hands rule, but not where it's overflowing both your hands, just where, you know, you have 2 cupped hands, and you can also look, usually those serving sizes on packages actually tell you exactly how many chips or pretzels that you might be looking at. 2 hands is a great measurement for leafy vegetables too, to get in the 2 cups as well. And these I also have in handouts that are attached to the presentation. So you can download those for further reference, or they're on Google Drive as well. All right, so just some tips on how to try to manage your portions at home. So the first thing we talk about is that important step that we were just covering, and that's actually learning what those correct portion sizes look like. So again, either getting out the measuring cups to actually measure it out, or using those references from that previous page to figure out, you know, to estimate what those look like. It's also important to learn to read food labels. So this way you can better pay attention to what a serving size is, how many servings are in that package, and then how that translates into how many calories, how much fat, the other nutrients that you're getting from that food. Another simple strategy is to use a smaller plate. So like I talked about before, research shows that people unintentionally eat more calories when they're presented with a larger portion size. So you get a smaller plate and it's going to look full, which is going to help you feel more satisfied at the end, but you'll also be eating less. And also a lot of people have grown up with that clean your plate club type of mindset. And again, with those bigger plates at home, at restaurants, things like that, that's not necessarily the best advice. So you have to listen to your body, which kind of leads into that next point there of being mindful. So it's really important, you know, most of the time we are rushing through meals, we are on the go, we are eating, you know, in front of the TV, we've got our phone out, whatever it might be. Those sit-down dinners, you know, at the table with the family are becoming kind of less frequent, right? So you really want to slow down. Make a meal, each meal, I'm talking breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Try not to work through things or eat on your way to work. You really want to focus on what you're eating, chew your food really well, and fully enjoy the smell, the taste, all those senses that you can use to really enjoy each bite of the food that you're taking. So take time to sit down, try to limit any distractions, turn the TV off, leave your phone away from the table or wherever you are eating, and really be mindful of what you're doing. Also, another strategy with that is to take a serving and then put the package away, right? So, so we talk about slowing down. That's part of that being mindful while you're eating. Try not to reach for second helpings unless you truly are hungry. So slowing down can help you with that. You can set down your fork between bites, take sips of water, anything that will help you to slow down, carry on a conversation. It takes about 20 minutes for your brain to get that signal that you're no longer hungry. So too often we eat too quickly and we don't get that initial signal until it's too late and we've already eaten too much. So, you know, we got to give our body time to catch up, slow down, you know, put your fork down, wait a little bit. If you still truly are hungry after that, then it, you know, maybe a good idea to eat a little bit more, but try to fill up more than on those vegetables, fruit, things like that. Also, another good strategy is not keeping the extra food on the table. So keep it up on the counter, on the stove, wherever. Serve yourself your single portion sizes of each food, and then go sit down at the table. If it's not in front of you, you're less likely to just reach out because it's an arm's reach and mindlessly grab more food. You have to put a little bit more thought and intention into it when you have to actually get up again and go serve another plate. Another way to do that is that you can put the extra food away in, you know, your leftover containers right away as well. Then you have even less temptation to even get back up and go to get more because you've already put that away. Some other tips still while you are at home, we talk about those leftovers. So as I was saying, you know, putting those leftovers in the container right away. You can also prepare those leftovers to help you be successful later on in the week or at a different time where you can take large batches of food and store it in individual containers, single servings later that are easy to grab and go. And either keep them in the fridge or even put them in the freezer to save them for a later time. Eating meals at regular times is important as well. Your body gets into a routine, knowing when it can expect your next source of fuel, things like that, and it becomes better at burning those calories when it knows when the next set of fuel is coming. So I encourage that you eat 3 times a day, 3 regular meals, and then it's okay to have that 1 or 2 healthy snacks between your meals as well throughout the day. You don't want to skip meals and you don't want to go too long without eating between meals. That's why those healthy snacks can be important. If you reach your next meal and you're too hungry, you know, you're really starving, you're more likely to overeat at that meal. So that's where snacks can kind of help to curb your hunger, manage that portion size at your next meal. Meal prepping can be really a really easy way to manage portions as well. Typically, you portion it out right away, whether that be for your lunch or even dinner. Having those pre-portioned meals then takes the thought out of how much you should serve yourself, you know, for breakfast, lunch, dinner, pre-portioning snacks. You know, obviously it tends to be less expensive to buy the bigger packages when you're talking about chips, crackers, whatever the snacks might be. But it can be hard to stop yourself if you're eating right out of that package. So stock up on some small little Ziploc baggies and portion out some of those sizes right away. So you can just grab one and make sure that you're sticking to the portion size. Same goes for snacks as far as fruits and vegetables. Get those cut up right away. Have that really easy for you to grab so that, you know, typically when you're in a hurry, you go for the easiest option, which might be some of that junk food. But if you have readily cut up, easily accessible fruits, vegetables, it can make it a lot easier to make that healthier choice. Focusing on fiber can help as well. So foods that are rich in fiber can help fill you up, and they help you feel full for longer periods of time too. So again, those fruits and vegetables are packed with fiber, whole grains are packed with fiber, and sticking to those can help you manage those portions throughout the day too. And then lastly, tracking your food. This can be really helpful. it can be time consuming. So some people don't have the motivation to start it or continue with it, but it really has been proven that if you track the food that you're eating each day, it helps to maintain and lose weight. That's because you're really holding yourself accountable then. Imagine, putting in everything that you eat each day. I'm talking every little bite that you put in your mouth. You might grab a handful of something from the break room or out of the cupboard after school, whatever it might be. Now you have to write that all down, and it really helps you be mindful of exactly what you're eating throughout the day. And then as you get into it, it makes you kind of second guess those little bits of food that at the time don't seem like they would do much, but when you see how much those extra calories add up at the end of the day, it really kind of puts that into perspective and how that all affects your daily calories. So then another way that some more strategies for portion control for when you're eating out. So we talked about how those portions at restaurants, fast food places, things like that have all increased pretty dramatically lately. So it's important to take steps, be prepared when you're eating out too. Share a meal with a friend. So if you have that option, split a meal, then you're not going to end up eating more than half of it, and you're going to be at least closer to the normal portion size that you need. Otherwise, if you don't have somebody to share that meal with, ask for a to-go box right when they bring your meal. Split it up in half, or maybe even you only keep a third on your plate, depending on what they serve you as far as portion size. So box some of it up right away so you're not tempted, even when you're full, to keep picking at that food at your plate. Obviously, avoiding all-you-can-eat buffets is a good strategy for not overeating. All the options that you're presented with, the endless amounts of food, it's hard to not continue to eat, even when you reach that point where you're not hungry anymore. Look at the appetizer menu, see if there are healthy options on there, depending on where you go, as long as not someplace that only has all the fried and greasy stuff, but see if there's some healthy appetizers or even side dishes like side salads, side orders of vegetables or fruits, and just get one or two of those instead of getting a full meal. Also, a lot of places that you go to, they'll have bread at the table before your meal comes, or chips there, whatever it might be. Try to say no. Tell the waiter or waitress to not even bring it to you. Tend to, be hungry when you sit down, so you start eating that. By the time your meal has come, you're not even really that hungry anymore, but you still feel like you want to eat the meal that you ordered, right? So try to avoid it altogether. And then if you have the choice, if there are smaller size options, whether it be lunch portions, kid size portions, smaller drinks, things like that, try to go with that smaller option when available. Sometimes they have larger options, not necessarily, at restaurants, but at stores and stuff, where the larger option is the cheaper option, or you at least get more for your money that way. You have to kind of think about it in the long run and say, I might be getting a little bit better deal here, but is this going to affect me as far as eating extra calories, your health in the long run, things like that. So just be mindful of that as well. So just to kind of wrap it up here, just recapping, the amount of food presented to us in packages, restaurants, things like that have increased drastically. Know what's right for you. Everybody's body is different, so figure out what those recommendations are for you or what your body does best with. And, look at that, get rid of distractions, visualize those portion sizes, be really mindful when you're eating, and try to be as proactive as you can. Set yourself up for success by planning ahead, really being in the right mindset to make sure that you're not going to overeat at each meal. Have those snacks ready if you know you're going to have a long period of time between meals. Do what you can to help make yourself successful. And then, of course, it's going to take practice. You're not going to turn around tomorrow and just eat the perfect portion sizes and go about your day. It's going to take practice to learn what those correct portion sizes look like, to really get into a healthy eating pattern as far as how much you're eating, when you're eating, things like that. So be patient with it. You're going to have good and bad days, as we all do. Nobody's going to be perfect with this, but making sure that you're having that balance. You're getting the nutrients that you need in the right quantities. And, you know, when you do splurge or indulge a little bit, that's okay, but just so it's, you know, an occasional treat. So that's all I have for you today. Please feel free to ask any questions that you have right now. I will stay on for those for a little bit here. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and thank you for listening.